Well, hopefully my cameras are creating a bit of extra anticipation. You're like, this fucking guy better be good. Like, he's got all these cameras going, oh, what's going on here? So I run a team of, we're about almost 30 and we're fully remote. So I'm pretty much the only guy, although I run the company, I'm in Perth. Most of the guys are in Melbourne, Sydney, Singapore. We've got guys in Barcelona. And so we run a fully remote distributed team. And so one of the things that I've learned is it's really important to be sharing and communicate, almost over communicating everything. And so one of the things that I've started doing is recording a lot of the sessions that I run and different things. And then, we'll do little edits and share it both internally with the team. And some of these things I may share externally as well. So that's some of the context for, some of the gadgetry around you here today. So what I would like to start with is what's the foundation of success and the velocity of growth? But before we unpack that, I want to start by sharing a bunch of cute kittens. Why the fuck am I doing that? Because there's some really good research that says when you watch cute animals at the beginning of something, it increases your focus and attention by about 15%. So you will get an extra 15% out of this presentation just for spending a few moments on these cute kittens. So next time you walk past in the office and Betty in accounts is looking at some cute kittens on the internet, she's actually increasing her focus for the rest of the day. It's true, it's true. So what are the major factors behind success and growth? I mean, I have no product to sell. I'm not a guru. Just want to preface, I'm not going to sign you up for any course at the end of this. It's been, researched a lot. There's a gazillion business books about it. And throw some things at me. What do you think would be some of the key things of success and growth? You guys are all running successful businesses, so what do you think it takes? Dedication, very good. Passion, yes. Good comms, yeah. What else?
Exceptional service.
Great service, yeah.
Good product.
Yep, helps when you've got a good product.
Understanding your customers.
Yep. And in terms of what's driving you, what does it take if you have to summarize it to your kids if they want to start something? What is it really going to take? Energy, hard work, determination, dedication, focus, persistence. These things are all things that we hear over and over again. But what's lying behind this? How many of you guys are parents, out of interest? Most of us, right? How hard is it to teach this stuff to your kids, right? You can't go, hey, just be more persistent, be more, just dedicate, just work harder. Like, you can say it to your staff. Does it create it? It doesn't. So what's lying behind this? There's some really, really interesting research that's come out over the last couple of years. And it's really taking the education system by storm as well. I'd say a lot of the modern educators are really going all in on this research. And they're saying that basically all this stuff is the byproduct of something else. And so really what I want to focus on today is how do we figure out that something else? How do we develop it in ourselves? How do we be aware of it and develop it in our teams? And also how do we develop it with our children at home? And so this something else that's critical for success and growth is what I'm going to take you through today. And importantly, I don't want just you to learn some interesting stuff. I'm going to give you some really, really tangible, practical takeaways that you can start applying literally this afternoon. So that's how we're going to run things. First, I want to start with a story. A couple of months ago, I entered my first pitch competition. I'd sort of stayed away from going into startup pitches and things like that. I sort of felt like when you do that early in your ride, you sort of, I don't know, you haven't really done much yet and you're sort of, showing a nice story. And so we've just been focused on executing and getting shit done. But I entered my first pitch competition and it was in Melbourne a few months ago and I really, really wanted to win it. The winner got to stand on the stage in front of Australia's largest retail conference. So that, thousands of people there. And I'm like, awesome. I don't want the glory of the pitch. I don't want any of the other wins. I just want the free ticket on the stage in front of 3,000 decision makers across Australia, and I get to do my 3-minute tap dance. I'm like, that's fucking pretty valuable. Like, I want that. And I heard about it last year, and I saw the guys do the pitch at the conference, and I was like, yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Like, there was like robots going around and stacking shelves, and then there was this other guy that just basically had an idea. And I was like, yeah, we've been doing some pretty interesting things. I reckon I've got a good shot. So I really practiced and I put together, some nice slides. I, really focused on how I talked about our product. I talked about how we're only 2 years old and we've had 4 million unique users. In our first 2 years, we've signed up some pretty, incredible brands. And we've had great velocity in our recurring revenue, all with 3 junior sales guys. We've done all of this with 3 junior sales guys and no marketing. And so I was like, I reckon we've got a pretty good chance here. And what happened? Oh, and I talked about our team and our growth. And what happened? I lost. Well, I came second, so that sort of helped. There was about 100 startups that went in, and at the end of the presentation, we were all sort of mingling, and there were different startups, and there were different industry folks, some government officials and stuff, and different people came up to me and they said, well, they said that it was a 5-minute time limit, and you went 6 minutes, and they pulled me up at the end, but they didn't tell you that you'd be disqualified for it and that it would really hurt you. I really still think you had the best pitch. Oh, thank you. And someone else came up to me and said, oh, that judge. He was from a university as well. He was the dean of one of the big universities. Oh, that judge. Just because he wouldn't use your product, he gave you a real hard time and it swayed the other judges. And I still really think that your product and what you guys are doing, it's a great story. I really think you should have won. I'm like, yeah, feeling a bit better about myself. And I had other people come up. The guy who won it actually came and said, look, I thought you did a really good job. It could have gone either way. We've now since stayed in contact and what have you. But in that moment of adversity, in that moment of failure, in that moment of pain, something that I really wanted. And I brought my Melbourne team there as well, and they all sat there and they were looking forward to see their boss, do this pitch. And so there was a bit of, and I'd been pumping it up, going, oh, I've prepared, I think we've got a good story. So, I was pretty heartbroken. And how is it that I processed that? Like, what is it that I did? There's something really interesting because in that pain, I genuinely deeply reflected. So I was on the plane ride home and I had a video of my presentation and I watched it a couple of times and then I watched the video of the other guy's presentation and I was just thinking, like, what was it the other guys did that I missed? What was it that I could have done better? I took pages of notes and I honestly would have spent most of the plane ride thinking about it. And what's interesting is in that moment, what came out of it was I had this big aha moment. And my aha moment was that the other guys were talking about, if you've ever seen the standard startup pitch, it sort of goes, here's the industry problem, here's all the pain points with this industry problem. So one of the other guys doing a pitch said, when you order something online, you get the confirmation order, and then it says, we're now sending, we'll be dispatching it soon. Here's maybe your tracking number. We know from research that people spend, after they get that, they spend on average 5.2 times checking their tracking. Delivery people always become a bit obsessive about, where's this thing? I'm just giving you my fucking money. You're like, is it coming soon? And that experience from purchase to delivery is pretty shithouse because they may send you to TNT, they may send you to some random courier. That experience is broken down, and they said it's a missed opportunity for the merchant because they could be continuously engaging with this customer, that 5.2 times, and maybe upselling them, maybe talking to them about other things. It's off-brand. It's sending them to these like crappy websites. And we're like, like hell yeah. Like I'm like, that's the problem. And then here's our solution, and they talked about how they fixed it and kept it all on brand, and they plugged into different things. And when I looked at my pitch. I'm just going to change, one second, I'm just going to change the way that I'm doing my presentation so I can see, there we go, just so I can see my next slide. So when I looked at my presentation, our presentation basically went along the lines of this, trying to understand your customer experience by current methods today, mystery shopping, sending out annoying email surveys is shit. Here's all the reasons why it's shit. We have a shinier, better product and solution. And when I looked at all the other presentations, they all described a problem like that tracking one. It was a far stronger customer problem, right? Like none of you woke up this morning going, oh, I'd like to know more about my customers, but sending out those emails are shit. Like it's just not a problem that you care that much about, right? And so we then reorientated everything, and I had my big aha moment, and we reorientated ourselves around a far stronger customer problem, which is you have people going in and out of your stores every day, and 3-4% of them walk out unhappy, and you don't even know about it. That's missed, that's missed revenue opportunities. Or that regular customer that you've been engaging, and that regular client all of a sudden leaves, and maybe you're not too sure why. Or someone, came to your website or had an engagement, and then they decided not to do business with you, and you don't even know why. That's a real business anxiety, right? And so we re-architected our sales messaging around, hey, we reckon we can boost your sales by 4%. This was at the retail conference, because at least 4% of your customers are walking out the door dissatisfied because you didn't have a product, or the line was too long, or the service was shit, and you have no idea about it, and you can't figure this out with mystery shopping and emailing surveys and what have you. So we capture in the moment, beautiful customer feedback, either by SMS or one of our tablets, etc. And we had at the conference of about 100 odd people were there with booths. We had hands down the strongest level of engagement. There were many times where there were 10 people around our booth, and the other guys had 1 or 2, and we captured the most leads at the conference, etc. All because if it wasn't for that pain. So now when I tell my team, I say, I'm so fucking glad I lost that pitch competition. Like, even though I wanted it, and I still wish that I had won it, and I still wish that I'd got a chance to be up there on stage. In that failure, in that in that pain, really came strong growth. So as a result, we expect some pretty serious uplift from reorientating our sales messaging from that. So what's going on there is, in that my approach there is an ingrained reflex, and you probably notice it in yourself sometimes, and it's that ingrained reflex that when there's failure or pain or adversity, you embrace that challenge and you go, what can I learn here? What could I have done differently? What could I have done better? Before running my own startup, I worked at Microsoft, and in my first day there, I'll never forget orientation. They said, we're really serious about not having politics and shitty culture. Like, we're really, really serious about it. And one of the things that we encourage you to do is, if you come out of a meeting and Johnny, was presenting the new marketing plan, and a couple of you get together and you kind of have a bit of a grumble that actually Johnny's idea was a bit shit, or he didn't really prepare pretty well, and you have a bit of a grumble in the hallways. Anytime that those types of conversations take place, they said you need to do one of two things. You either need to say, well, that's interesting, what have you done about that? Oh, that's interesting, what are you going to do about it? So taking the ability to take blame away and shift everything back to personal responsibility. So I might have a bit of a whinge about Johnny's, presentation, or his marketing plan wasn't that great. But the question is, well, what have I done about that? Oh, fuck, I haven't really said anything to him. Oh, I haven't really done anything. I just want to have a bit of a grumble. Well, that's not productive. That's not helping anyone. Or what are you going to do about it? And full credit to them, that's how things run internally there. And this is really at the heart of this here. What could I have done better? What could I have done differently? So going back to the question, why is it that people succeed when others don't, when we have roughly the same levels of talent and capabilities? And so this is the heart of the growth mindset. And let me take you through the growth mindset, and then I want to take you through how you can then bring this to life. So there's two ways of thinking. This is what the research has shown. Carol Dweck released a very famous book. She got one of the top 10 TED Talks of all time, specifically around growth mindset. She invented, and her research came up with this. And it really is in two camps: fixed mindset and growth mindset. Now, a fixed mindset are basically people who believe that skills, intelligence are what you have, and it is relatively fixed, right? And they will say, oh, other people are just naturally good at that, and I'm not. So I'm not a maths person. I'm not a I can't draw well. My skills and capabilities are effectively fixed. A growth mindset believes that skills and intelligence can be developed, and that it can be built with work and effort. Now, it sounds fluffy, but the science behind it is incredible. And so in one of the studies that Carol Dweck ran was with a kindergarten in the Bronx in New York. And this kindergarten was at the bottom level performing of all their tests. I mean, there were 5-6-year-olds that couldn't even hold a pencil. They were in the state, hands down, down the bottom. They started teaching growth mindset and taking a growth mindset approach. And within 2 years, they were in the top 10% quadrant. And this has been repeated many, many, many times over. There's even examples of year fours where through a maths year, the only thing that they changed was when you didn't do well on a test, instead of failing someone, they didn't say fail, they just simply said not yet. You haven't figured this out, not yet. And that change alone, saw a bump up in grades over time. And so there's this magical power behind the word yet, not yet. There's great power in that word, not yet. I'm not a maths person yet, I'm not very good at painting yet, right? So putting yet in the thinking is really, one of the things that really allows this growth mindset to take off. So there's 4 sort of core characteristics of mindset. One is how you think about effort. One is how you approach challenges, like my challenge that I explained in the pitch competition, how I handle mistakes, and how I handle feedback, right? So a fixed mindset says, I've got to put some effort in when it's not something that I'm naturally good at. Oh, fuck, I'm not, good with maths and accounts. I'm really going to have to put some effort in here, right? When they think of challenges, they either give up quickly or they check out and they don't really throw themselves into the challenge. When it comes to mistakes, they fucking hate making mistakes. They want to avoid it. They want to hide it when they've done it. And they're embarrassed because mistakes make you look shit. I don't want to be mistakes. I want to hide from it. And I want to excuse it. And I want to blame other people and blame other circumstances and blame reasons. And feedback, I take it personally. I get offended. I don't reflect and go, oh, fuck, there's something interesting happening there in that feedback. Actually, let me reflect on that. Like, it hurts you telling me that, but I'm going to really take this on board and see what it is that I can improve and do better. So growth mindset sees effort as part of the learning, perseveres through challenge. I've got some really interesting things to show you what happens with the brain in brain scans between fixed mindset and growth mindset. Mistakes, embracing them, treating them as learning opportunities, and feedback, fucking love it. I love it. I love nothing more than when my team tells me, Mike, you were completely shit just the way that you did that. Mike, you said that this and this was important, but then you've just spent the last 2 weeks doing that. I love it. I encourage it. You have to, change the way people, it's pretty confronting, coming into a culture with, radical transparency and radical candidacy. But that feedback really is the breakfast of champions, and, taking it on board, especially that hard feedback. Yeah, please.
Would you mind just moving a little that way so that we can see the whole screen?
Yeah, sure. And you'll get a copy of the slides as well. Yep. So fixed mindset says, I'm not good at this. I give up. What's the point? It's good enough. The formatting's out a little. Oh, there we go. This is too hard. I'll never be smart at this. I can never do this. Like, I can't make this any better. Growth mindset, what is it I'm missing? Do you know what? I'll try a different way. Is this really my best work? I can always improve. Also, mistakes help me learn. Do you know what? I'm going to learn how to do this, and I'm going to start training my brain. So the most impactful thing for me when I went on a growth mindset, just exploring this topic and learning, is this next image. So this next image shows someone with a fixed mindset that has been given a challenge versus someone who has a growth mindset and has been given something that's challenging. And just look at the difference. This is the brain lighting up with a growth mindset. So when you've got a growth mindset, you're like, fuck, this is challenging. Like, awesome. Like, I'm going to get stuck into this. Everything's firing, like, awesome. I want to take on this challenge. Where a fixed mindset is basically looking how to do minimal work, how to get out of it, don't want to look bad. How can I quickly get this challenging situation dealt with separately? Now, there's something very interesting, which I don't have time to go in today, but just for those of us who have children, especially younger children, is it's very, very, very important to praise the effort and not the results, and really never you're a smart kid or awesome, you did that because you're like so smart. It's all about the effort. It makes a huge difference. There's lots of studies that show when kids were praised on smart in a challenge, It's a very, very famous university study. I forget the details of it, but basically they gave kids challenges, and one lob they said, "Awesome, you nailed it. You know, you're a whiz at this. You're real smart. You know, good job." The next one they praised the effort, and they found areas, regardless of what their results were, to go, "Hey, you really persevered there. Like, I noticed you spent that extra bit. You know, good job with that effort." Then they cranked up the difficulties and the growth mindset of folks, where they were basically teaching them how to have a growth mindset. So they were focusing on effort. You know, we're almost 2xing the results of the guys that were taught that they're smart, or they were told that they were smart and good job, because they started checking out sooner. So an important side point. Now, what's really cool is in popular culture, we don't want to celebrate hard work and effort, right? Even when people, you know, meet me and, you know, come across my story, they're like, "Awesome, you got a cool idea to get, you know, customer feedback. You done some whiz things. Awesome, great idea. You know, now you're a success and, you know, raise millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah." No one wants to talk about the effort and the, you know, the challenges and how you put in lots of consistent hard work, right? And take the long-term bet. And it's the same in popular culture and how we look at our heroes. And actually, when you look at all the heroes, I'm just going to scan through them, but, you know, Michael Jordan, didn't make his high school basketball team. He wasn't drafted the first few times. So it wasn't genetics that made him one of the best basketball players of all time. It was consistent hard work and his mindset. He's come out and he's, you know, talked a lot about the growth mindset movement. You know, Einstein has said the same. I don't have any special talent. I'm just passionately curious. There's many, many famous examples. You know, Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lack of imagination and having no great ideas. There's many, many, many examples. When it boiled down to it, it's not genetics. It's not just luck. It is consistent, regular, hard work, approaching challenges, embracing challenges, going, what can I learn? What can I go from this? Before I give you and leave you with some tips as to how you can really make growth mindset come to life, I want to finish by sharing that this can be taught and developed. And I think this is the most important thing. Regardless, you don't just have to be a 6-year-old kid right now. You can start having a growth mindset now. And I should mention, we have a growth mindset at different times for different areas, right? So it's something to even just be aware of, like when something's happening, going, am I in a fixed mindset right now, or am I in a growth mindset? Now, obviously, you want to be in growth mindset 90% plus of the time, but there'll be some times where you slip into old habits or what have you. But this can be taught and developed and increased. So this is a picture that my year 3, my 8-year-old daughter did with some of her friends at school. And it's called The Learning Pit. I appreciate you can't read it, so you get a copy of it. But basically it says, yay, like I'm gonna like go on a learning journey. Let's go, I'm so excited. Jump in, have a go. This seems a bit uncertain, not too sure what's going on. Oh, fuck, like, this is hard. I've gotta like figure this out, I don't get it. God, I gotta like problem solve. Do you know what? I'm gonna give this a crack. You know, I don't know how to solve this. It seems really hard. It's frustrating, but I'm going to give it a go. And then deep learning starts taking place. You know, let me help you. You know, even like and so that growth mindset of, you know, I'm going to give it a crack and keep persevering. And then the successful learning moment. And they're teaching this in my daughter's year 3 class at the moment, and all the homework's coming home with growth mindset stuff. So we did a word puzzle I did with my daughter in her homework. And we had to find things like embraces challenges, works to improve, doesn't blame others, keeps on trying, inspired by other people's success, effort is everything. I see feedback as a positive. I learn from my mistakes. I have a desire to learn new things, right? And the whole class started doing things. So I took these pictures just yesterday when I dropped her off at school. And if I work hard, I will improve. Challenges are the opportunities to grow. The brain is a muscle. The more that I use it, the stronger it becomes. When I work at something difficult, my neurons get stronger, which is something I want to share with you. You know, effort is the key to success. You can do anything if you stick to it, right? Strive for progress. I love to challenge myself. Failure is an essential part of learning. This is my daughter's one. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. Keep moving forward. And the great news is it's not just a bunch of fucking fluffy American motivational talk stuff. This stuff is in science. And the brain shows that it lights up new neurons. So as you start training your brain to think this way, as you start talking to your kids about this, as you start talking to your employees about this, new neurons start taking place. Those yellow blobs of fatty tissue is new connections, new neurons firing together and creating new connections. The way that I think about it, if you can't remember the sciencey stuff, it's like making a well-worn path to the beach. The more you go over that same path, the more it comes on. So you guys ready to have a crack at this growth mindset and boost your growth mindset? Good. Well, why don't you stand up, and I've got 10, 15 minutes left of content, and get a bit of energy, give me a nice big clap that you really want to take on this growth mindset. This is my American Tony Robbins moment. Very good, very good, very good, very good. That feels good for me as well, thank you. You're welcome to take a seat. Now, another bit of research has shown when I make you pumped about what I'm about to explain, you are going to think the content that I'm going to share is 25% better than what it really is. Because you're now anticipated, you're excited, you think there's something good here. Fuck, you just made us stand up and laugh and clap. This better be good. It will be. So 5 tips that I use. This is my own made up stuff that I have to boost my growth mindset. The first one is you need to become an obsessive learner. When you look at Bill Gates, when you look at the guys at Google, when you look at Mark Zuckerberg, when you look at all these guys, they all read over 50 books a year. They all say that they're obsessive learners. I probably don't hit 50, I probably hit between 30 and 40 books a year, hundreds of podcasts, etc. And that obsessive learning is really, really important. And I want to share, a few years ago when I had my idea for Radar, my company, I had my big idea moment, right? And what was the first thing that I did when I had my big idea moment? What do you think that I did?
Wrote it down.
Sorry?
Wrote it down.
Wrote it down? Yes. What else? Oh man, you're good. Did you come to my Space Cube talk? I told everyone that would listen. So fucking excited, right? And what's the next thing that I did?
Check whether anyone else had one.
It's good. What else?
Check if everyone thought it was a good idea.
It's also good. Most people get cracking, right? Start doing it and start building stuff and start putting it out into the world. And after you tell everyone about it, what I did next was I listened to hundreds of podcasts. I can share with you separately my favorite ones. I would say the Startup Chat, This Week in Startups. The Startup School by Seth Godin is excellent. Seeking Wisdom, they're probably my favorites. And they made a huge impact on how I thought about things before I got started. And then I read a shit ton of books, right? Read Lean Startup, a bunch of these. And what I learned was, I shouldn't run out and build something straight away. I need to get validation. And there's a whole separate topic around, idea validation and how to do that well. And I went through a whole idea validation process that I'm convinced, saved myself probably 50 grand of my savings, because I probably would have run out and done the first thing that I had the idea on, right? Now, when I say this, you're kind of cool, good on you, reading lots of content, but yeah, I get that I need to read more. I get that I need to be consuming more, but I really just don't have time for it. And I want to share an important side note as to how I think about this cancer that we have in our vernacular of saying busy. I fucking hate it, right? I fucking hate it. I ban my team saying busy. Oh, Mike, hey, John, did you get to that? Oh, no, sorry, mate, I'm a bit busy. I didn't get to that. No, busy. Oh, how are you today? Oh, really busy. Busy is shit. If you're not busy, then what are you doing? You're not filling your time? So you're just sitting around watching Netflix for half a day? Of course we should be busy. It's just a shit word. What you should be saying is replace the word busy with priority. So if you say to me, Mike, I can't read all that stuff because I'm too busy, don't say that. Say, Mike, I can't read 10 books a year because it's not a priority. That's fine. It's a famous study of someone who's a time management expert, and she researched about 100 plus CEOs of busy mid-sized companies with about 500 employees. And they were tracking how the CEO was spending her time. And there was one week where she said, "I'm really sorry, we've got a lot on." I think they were preparing for an IPO or something, like it was legit, busy time. I can't run our regular weekly interview where I take you through what I did for my schedule and stuff like that. They usually catch up for half an hour. She said, "That's fine." They then looked at the time stamps in the schedule and her calendar the next week. Guess what happened? She spent over 7 to 8 hours at home, out of work. There was a flood in the basement, cut out the power. Kids, going back and home dealing with shit. Now, if there's a flood in your basement and there's no power, if a loved one calls and says, "I just had an accident, I'm at emergency hospital," of course we can do these things. So time and busy is not the excuse. It's what is a higher priority, right? So when someone says, "Mike, I didn't get to that because I'm really busy with that stuff," well, they're not allowed to say that. They have to say, "Mike, I didn't get to that thing that you asked because I did this other thing and it was a higher priority," right? Now we can have a discussion of whether the shit that you did was a higher priority or not, and are you working on the things that are highest priority? But replace busy from your vernacular with priority. And then, if you believe that reading a couple of books extra a year or what have you is a higher priority, then the next thing I want to share with you is how I read. Because how do you read 30, 40 plus books a year? Because it is time consuming, and I'm more of an audible person, so I listen to a lot of books. There's a great article that I didn't read, but I just do it myself. If you Google "Seeking Wisdom, How to Read," it'll be the first blog post. Seeking Wisdom is my favorite podcast. And he says, the only way that you're really going to accelerate your progress is learning through others. There is no unique challenge that you've had. There's no unique problem. There's no unique opportunity. It's all been solved before by others. It's all been explored for by others. You just don't know about it yet. So it is out there in books. It's out there in podcasts. It's out there in the literature. So going to learning should be your absolute first point of call, and consuming as much of this stuff as you can is great. The thing is, school has fucked us up as to how we read, because school teaches us that you have to read every page and that you're going to be tested on it at the end, but you don't, right? One of my favorite books is, where is it? It's called, I don't know if I've got it on my screenshot, it goes for a few more pages. It is The Perfect Close. I can't find it now. Oh, there it is, The Perfect Close. This is one of my favourite books, and I probably would have spent half an hour. So I maybe would have literally read 15, 20% of the pages. Because I skimmed through, the purpose of this book is to just give me one aha moment. If I get 2 learnings out of it, fucking awesome. It's the best $7 I've ever spent on my Kindle, right? My goal is not to read this every page and then I'm going to be tested on it and write a summary. I just need to have my one big aha moment. And do you know what the aha moment for that book is? It's amazing. He says, rather than when you're trying to close a customer but you don't want to be salesy or you want to move something along, he says, just use the word, "Does this make sense?" So, hey, does it make sense that we send you a proposal and we cost this up for you? Oh no, mate, no, we're not ready for that yet. Okay, well what does make sense is the next step, right? That was my one big takeaway from that book. I probably can't remember anything else, but it has transformed the way that we do stuff, right? I will say something to a customer. Does it make sense that we organize a session with your CMO and we do this? Yeah, actually, do you know what? That'd be good. Yeah, we're ready for that, right? So one big learning moment, one book, I probably only read 10, 15% of it. I've had the value from that book, boom, done, I'll close it up. Quite happily to not read it to the end. So, change your approach to reading as well. The other practical tip that I have is grab a YouTube Red account. Yes, it's $12 a month. Yes, it's Google taking over the world. But you get an AirPod or a Bluetooth headset. This is permanently in my pocket. And what I do is, for example, we wanted to redo some website copy, and our marketing guy was struggling. And so I was like, well, fuck, I don't know good copywriting. So I went onto YouTube and I typed in copywriting, find all the best videos and lectures about copywriting, added it to a playlist, created a playlist called Copywriting Learning, and I just started adding different videos to the playlist. I go into YouTube, dial it up to 1.5x speed, so they sound a little bit like chipmunks. You can go up to 2x as well. I had to do some, I had to paint the back deck. We were redoing some stuff. And so I put my AirPods on, spent 3 hours painting the deck. With YouTube Red, you can start a YouTube clip, put your phone on standby and put it in your pocket, right? So listen to like a podcast. So 90% of the stuff that I watch on YouTube, I never look at the screen. It's just AirPods in, but there's great lectures, there's great talks and what have you. And so I had, 6 hours of copywriting of the world's best, copywriters giving tips pumped into my, ear while I was painting the deck. I now come to work on Monday and I'm ready to, have a decent conversation about how we want to approach our copywriting. So some practical tips there, really become an obsessive learner, and there's some tips how to do it. The second one is being a pain magnet. Or when there's adversity or there's challenges, don't go, oh fuck, like I just want to like minimize this, I want to run away from it, I don't want to think about it. Like we've got a really big challenge on right now with the way that we're moving into a new market. We're actually trying to go into the SMB market actually, so maybe you can give me some tips as to how I get you as a customer. And it's not working as well as we wanted to. And like it's a real bastard of a pain point because we'd sort of made some, we had some expectations that we'd be further along than where we are now. Now I'm going, this really, really, really sucks. Like I don't want it. Like you don't want the adversity, you don't want the pain, so you shouldn't, want the failure. But this isn't going well. I'm going, this is an amazing learning moment. We will get through this. We will crack it. And do you know what? When we do crack it, like our velocity after this is going to be, I don't know how we're going to do it. Like I haven't figured it out yet. But my approach to that adversity, my approach to that pain is important. So go with the pain. My favorite book, obviously Carol Dweck, she was the founder of Growth Mindset, and all the study of that book is amazing. My favorite book at the moment, Principles, I'm calling this my Bible. It won Amazon's Business Book of the Year last year. If you haven't read this, it's a must read. You can skip the whole part 1 where he talks about his life story. Part 2 and part 3 is literally like drinking pure cordial. You cannot skim through this. I've read it 4 times. It is phenomenal. And he talks about pain plus reflection is growth. And then there's some of my favorite YouTube clips around growth mindset. The third one is really loving the journey and playing the long game. And you can't want to just hit that next goal, right? Like you can't just be like, oh, look, we want to get to $5 million in revenue. I want to hit, this, or when I can buy this car, or I can buy this house, or when I do this thing, like that's when I've, achieved. Like you'll never, like that would just be temporary shit. Like that would just be temporary things. You have to enjoy this process, right? So like the challenges that we're going through, like everything, like I'm loving it, like I'm loving the journey. And so I think loving the journey is important. Really important to share with your team. There's a guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, or you can just search Gary V. Does anyone listen to Gary V here? I mean, Gary V is known, if you want to look better on Google, show up better on social media, if you're spending money on any kind of digital ads at the moment, it is critical that you follow this guy or that your team follows this guy. He's the Michael Jordan of digital marketing. And yes, he has an insane ego. Yes, he's very American and, if you think I swear a lot, it's pretty fucking hardcore. He talks a lot about loving the process, great for millennials in your team. And while you have to take his attitude with a grain of salt, some of it I think is, showmanship, but the content is incredible. And what they do with social media and marketing is world class. It's a whole separate topic. Just as an example, they sold an extra couple of $1 million of airline maintenance through Facebook ads to Boeing, right? Like, why would you? How the fuck do you sell Facebook ads to Boeing to get that? I'll leave that as a breadcrumb to cover at the end. But this guy's stuff is amazing. The fourth one is make sure you've got clear goals and that you're setting some monthly actions around that. So here's what I do. At the beginning of the year, I look at myself and I ask, what does my ideal life look like in 2 years from now? Like, what is it that I really, really want? And it's a very, very honest conversation. It can include health, it can include business, it can include personal relationships. And I write it down. I keep it pretty simple, right? And I'm like, I want to achieve this. I want to look like this. I want to feel like this. I want to have these types of relationships. I want to achieve this in the company. And
then I think, well, why is it that I really, really want that? And what's the impact, what's the pain if I don't achieve that? You know, how's it going to make me feel in 2 years' time if I haven't done that thing, if I haven't achieved that result? And what problems are getting in the way of me achieving that? And this is probably the most important question. What do I need to practically do each month to get me to that goal, right? So if my goal is to have a beach bod before I'm 40, which was one of them, well, how am I going to what am I going to practically do next month? What am I practically do this month to get there? I'm not just going to wake up and like achieve it, right? Or if I want to achieve X thing that's around financial freedom, it's not just going to achieve itself in 2 years' time. Like, what do I need to practically do next month, each month, to get there? And then the last thing is you have to figure out an accountability rhythm so you do this shit. And we all have different ways of keeping ourselves accountable, but you've got to find your way to keep yourself accountable. And so the last thing when I think about how am I going to stay on track and what am I going to do each month, I just jot down a couple of notes and I talk to my wife about it, and I have goals that I set, and I'll say, I'm going to achieve this, right? And I'll say it to a couple of family members, and I'm just jotting down each month, what I'm practically doing to move that ball forward to that thing. For other people, they maybe, I love goal setting and setting a big goal. Like, I feel like that's what drives me. For other people, it's a range of, other things. There's, have you guys heard of Tim Ferriss? Does anyone follow Tim Ferriss's stuff? So Tim Ferriss came out with the famous 4-Hour Work Week, and Tools of Titans, a bunch of other really, really excellent books. And he's got a famous story that he hates writing. Like, he's a New York Times top 10 bestseller, has the biggest podcast in the world, and he really hates writing. So when he's got to write a book, what he does is he hires a book nanny. And I think it's probably some poor uni student. And what she does is she works full time, and she'll come over to his house, or like for parts he'll hire an apartment in France, and go, okay, cool, I'm going to focus on writing these next couple of chapters. And her full-time job is to just literally walk around and go, oh, what are you doing, Tim? That's not writing your book. I can get back to writing. You didn't need 2 hours of that, cafe. What are you doing, mate? Like, back to writing. What, Tim, why are you emailing again? Like, that email can wait. Like, you said that you wanted to do 3 hours of writing today. Like, do 3 hours of writing. He's hired someone full time because he knows that he needs that constant prodding, to get the result. I mean, this guy's like one of the most productive, gurus of our time, and he hires a book nanny. So, find your method. Find your book nanny, and I've got a little offer to end on as well. So the way that I sort of just finish in sort of wrapping all this up and to kind of leave you with a couple of nice quotes that I think about all the time is I think if you take the core of growth mindset, is really anything that is comfortable is an enemy of growth, right? If you're not embracing the challenges, if you're not taking on that new way of thinking, that new thing, oh, I'm no good at tech, I can't figure out tech, that's what your grandma says or your parents say, but they don't have, like, the 15-year-old doesn't have any genetic better capability with her fingers or her brain to work out a computer than you do, or that your parents do, or have you. There's nothing genetically better for them. So we have to remove these things from our mindset and go, actually, if I'm just going to be comfortable and not take on that thing, that is an enemy for growth. So Tony Robbins has a better way of putting it, which is all growth starts at the end of your comfort zone, which I like. And so to sort of wrap this up is, without doing all this stuff, you really need this, you can't do this stuff without radical self-awareness. I don't know if you've heard the story of the dancer and the balcony. Have you guys heard of the dancer and the balcony? It's a famous psychological analogy of the ability to be in the moment. So, when you're on the dance floor and the music's going and you're in the groove and you're not anywhere else, you're sort of with the people and you're dancing. But then being able to be in the moment and whatever it is that you're doing, but also have the ability to zoom out and be the person on the balcony. You're around the balcony and you're watching a dance floor and you're like, oh, that guy better, oh, he's going to spill his drink. And, you're watching things objectively. You have no emotion to the music that's going on and you're not dancing. And so a key skill, especially as business leaders and in this process, is the ability to both be in the dance and come back up to the balcony, see everything that's going on objectively, including yourself as a player on that dance floor, and then being able to go back in, right? So when you're in this thing, being able to go, zooming back out, I'm saying that I'm being accountable, I'm saying that's a goal, am I really and then being able to go from the dance floor onto the balcony. So that radical self-awareness, and my favorite book on this is Principles, Ray Diallo. He talks about how to bring this to yourself and to the team. Radical transparency forces issues to the surface, it makes it uncomfortable, brings out problems, but allows the organisation to get the talent and the insights to solve things. And so he talks about this radical self-awareness as both an organisation and as a person. So what can you do with all this shit that I've just told you? A few things. This is where I'll leave you. First thing is, I want you to download my podcast because we need every podcast subscriber. So one of my goals that I set last year was I wanted to be one of the #1 podcasts in the world, which we achieved in our first 6 months. So we're about customer experience, and we give lots of customer experience tips. We don't sell our shit. We have interviewed, like you mentioned, Michelle, leading guys from Disney, but local folks at Officeworks and Country Road, and we just practically break it down. I don't want to talk fluff and journey mapping and what do you practically do to deliver more delightful experiences to your customers? What are some practical things that you can do? So please download my podcast. If you are not into podcasts, then make that your growth mindset challenge to get into podcasts. It is the fastest growing medium in Australia right now. 20% of Aussies are listening to podcasts. The great thing with podcasts, if you have an iPhone, you just use the podcast app on your phone. If you use an Android, there's an app called Casts. It's written by some guys in Melbourne. It's an excellent app. It's also excellent on iPhone. And the great thing with podcasts is it's the only medium that you can consume while you're doing something else. If you're reading something, you can only read. Right? When you're watching a video, you can only watch a video. Where with audio on demand, you can, if I've got to make a 15-minute trip to Bunnings and grab something, fuck you beauty. The first thing I do is I grab this out and I put an earbud in and then hit resume on my book that I'm listening to or to the podcast that I'm listening to. And so all these moments, my wife loves me now because I'm like, no worries, I'll do a bit of washing, because I've got to get to the end of that book. Podcasts are great for that. The second thing is I'm happy to be your book nanny. I only have a very few percentage of people that get given this offer take it up. On average, about 5% say, yes, Mike, no worries, I'm pretty pumped, I'll send you a summary of what I'm up to, and I want to keep myself accountable, and then people drop off, so prove me wrong. I'd love to be flooded with emails because I get to hang out and meet like-minded people that are pretty passionate about this stuff, so find me on LinkedIn, send me an email with your short goals, and just send me an update each month. Like the beginning of each month, 3 bullet points, 2 bullet points. What do you fucking do to hit that goal, right? I've got a guy who runs a digital marketing agency who wants to get away from one-time billing and he wants to move to subscription-based billing, which I help get him excited about. And he sends me an email each month, started weekly and then it's turned to monthly, that's fine. I re-overhauled my website on this, I created this offer, boom, just 2 bullet points, fine, next month. A couple of bullet points. I can see the ball, moving forward. I may not read it all the time. I may not be able to jump in or help out, but it's helping him stay self-accountable. And he's like, and sometimes I give him shit if he's a day late. I'll send him a text going, mate, where's my update? And I'll be hardcore. I'm like, if you miss a couple of updates, let's just tap out. That's fine. But if you want that level of accountability, I'm happy to be that. And then the third one is if you'd like. So customer feedback in your business, we can have a chat. We're actually looking to work more with small, medium businesses. So we do a lot of physical stuff to capture feedback in the moment, but we're also doing things like email and SMS, or if you have a website and you want to get some feedback about what your customer experience is like, we've got some methods that actually we won't charge you for, like getting feedback by email and SMS, or putting a little link on your receipts, or a little link on your invoice about how was the experience. And we're very focused on never being an annoying survey. We're really obsessed about it being a delightful experience. I think we all have survey fatigue when people ask you for feedback. Fuck, you're really going to do anything? So we really focus on the method of giving feedback actually being extremely delightful. We don't allow people to create their survey questions. We take it on, we manage it, and then it really runs helps you build a culture of customer centricity internally. So if you want to give us a crack, we've got some offers there for free for life for you guys there. It's just kind of one piece, but I'm really excited about it because growth mindset really is that fundamental piece, that foundational piece, for our children, for our team members, how we approach challenges. Really going, yeah, fuck yeah, there's a challenge. You want your brain lighting up right when that pain's coming, when it's like, oh, this is really hard. Leaning into that, and as you go for your big new project that you guys are looking for, really taking that on as like, fuck yeah, like this is a big growth moment. If we really crack this, this is going to be really, really fundamentally transformative in our growth. So that's my email address there. If you want to take me up on the book 91, shoot me a note. Thank you.